First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Good Monday afternoon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. As far as I'm concerned, everybody has some luck and love of the Irish in them. So it's even to you, Ross. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well. I got my green pants on here. You can't see them, but I am in spirit as much as I can be.
I'm sure we are brothers from some point way back.
Exactly.
Way back. So good to see you, good smiling, but I'm going to go back to, unfortunately, that event that we had. You were talking about this way early. Put together some great graphics for us. And this, Ross, only goes back to, I think, Saturday afternoon. And it's just talking about the wind, the hail, the tornado. I shouldn't say just, but
yeah.
There are other storm tracks that I decided not to put up there.
Even, let's take it back to Friday, although the map might not go back that far.
Right.
Extreme winds across the Texas Panhandle and into Oklahoma. They saw dust storms out there. So that was kind of the Friday event. We had wildfires break out in Stillwater, Oklahoma, the home of the University of Oklahoma State. Wildfires down across southern Texas as well, kind of along and south of I-10. So that was kind of Friday. There were some severe storms up across Missouri and into Illinois and Iowa there on Friday evening as well. And then, the big story I think really came as you headed into Saturday and then Sunday here for us, Tim.
I think tragically, the storm did produce. I say tragically because at least at last count, I think the death count is up to almost 50. And of course, that doesn't take into account the injuries, the damage, the destruction, as Ross mentioned, from damage from wildfires. I mean, there were folks out there who have been around for 40 years said they've never seen anything like that. Some much older people were saying it reminds them of pictures from the Dust Bowl era of the 30s, both because of the wildfires and then the amazing dust storms that developed out there. And then, of course, as Ross said, it got moisture, and then as forecast, it exploded. Now, fortunately for us, that whole system weakened tremendously by the time it got down to the First Coast. Ross, I think the worst we've seen was some roof damage in southeast Georgia.
Yeah, Glenn County and Charlton County, I think, had some minor to moderate roof damage.
I think Columbia County.
Yeah, Columbia County as well.
A little bit of wind damage there, and the players had a delay. But all things considered, certainly we were on the much
especially
more relaxed side of this.
Jacksonville specifically. The storms kind of went to the north of 295 and then to the south of 295. So most of the beltway here around Jax was unscathed yesterday.
So there it goes. There's still some stuff on the backside of the front around the Outer Banks. South Florida had some showers early this morning. They're out around the Bahamas, and that is it, except for the wind. The winds of the Lion of March continues to roar. So these folks are the sustained winds out there. But look at what happens when we give you the gusts. They'll get some gusts to about 33 miles per hour. Ross, as you know, we can especially get these kind of winds this time of the year because the days are longer, the sun is more direct, and you may wake up in the morning and not a whole lot of wind, but all the while, for instance, I think this morning for a while at 5,000 feet, the temperatures were down around maybe 38 or 39.
Okay.
And so then when afternoon temperatures get into the 60s and you got a 30-degree spread, that means that wind that is up at about in the upper levels, Andy, at this point at 5,000 feet, it mixes on down and we get those gusts. So I haven't seen any reports of any fires here. We shouldn't have any. But as far as just playing the conditions, this is the kind of afternoon we get very concerned about.
And I do think still are red flag warnings south of us.
Yeah.
So down towards I-4 in the Orlando area, they have some red flag warnings. But it was not a good day to have a loose-fitted ball cap on.
No,
I'll
very
just say
good.
it like that.
Very, very, very good point. And I'm thinking about those in maybe baggies and bikinis out at the beaches.
Yeah, spring breakers.
Yeah, I mean, at least they got the sun, but wow. Overnight tonight, if you just care about clear skies, crystal clear. The winds will drop. So as long as you have a jacket, I think a pretty nice evening out there as the moon is now waxing. No, I'm sorry, it's waning.
Waning, yeah.
Yes, sorry. And there's the next 12 hours. So I put out here, Ross, where I thought we might see a few upper 30s, but I don't think even out there we're going to have frost between the dry air and maybe just enough of a breeze to where even out there probably no frost.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think although the winds are going to taper off a lot, during the overnight period. I think there will still be just a little bit of a northerly or even northeasterly breeze for some folks that maybe only 5 to 6 miles per hour, but just enough to probably stop temperatures from dropping down to near freezing. So a chilly night, but not all that bad.
Yeah, not too bad. So I wanted to expand the picture real quick because it is March, and this particular March has already been a stormy one, and here comes another one. You already have a clue of what's happening by, notice that warm ridge of temperatures. Topeka's 76 degrees, International Falls only 28, Denver 71. There's a look at the precipitation. It's just on the edges, but when you look at the wind warnings and the red flag warnings, once again, the planes jump out of this, folks, and that's a sign of the storm on the way. Now, if we're just talking about the stormiest as far as travel problems, we're going to go to the West Coast because that's the sign of the next storm. And if you look closely there, you can see the rotation. If you notice San Francisco, precipitation coming in from the west and the southwest. Northern California, it's coming out of the north. Over in the mountains is where the winter storm warning is, but that is going to expand into the plains. So if it is that time of the year where we're looking westward 5,000 miles to make a forecast, but what is this? Ross did a good job. For folks, I want to notice what you're looking at here. First of all, this is officially from the National Hurricane Center. So this is not us trying to get you super concerned, but they did officially put out a graphic for an area producing some gale force winds, meaning tropical storm force winds. It's over relatively warm waters. In the past, we have seen systems work off to the west and southwest, so picture kind of toward Puerto Rico, that then, because of the organization, we call it vertically stacked, that then it can develop thunderstorms on the surface and actually become a named storm even in March. Now, we don't think that's going to happen, and that's why Ross, although they're saying 10%, Ross on that headline put no tropical formation. So good job there. We just wanted to let folks know, the National Hurricane Center is working.
Well, because actually Andy was the one who sent me a picture of this earlier today, and you can just hear it in Andy's voice. Is this real? Is this going to happen? And I'm like...
Because Andy's got a lot going on.
Oh, he does. He travels a lot?
Yeah, and what he's thinking is, do I need to budget energy for yet? And so, no, Andy and the rest, not quite. But, it doesn't take a meteorologist to look at the Atlantic and go, wow, there is a swirl there. And overall, the average ocean temperatures over the last 3 years, the warmest that us humans have seen. But it does look like instead of going towards San Juan, it's overall going to be pulled to the west and then the northwest, and that will take it toward cooler waters. Do want to emphasize, again, for Andy and others, that it's getting most of its energy right now from the upper levels. This time we're talking about 15,000 feet, whereas remember, a tropical cyclone needs to get the majority of its energy from the warm waters. And although it's getting some, it's primarily there because of the upper levels. So if anybody at home, if you're a real weather freak and you want to look at the upper level charts, what you'll see is over the next couple of days, this very symmetrical, we call it vertically stacked system, will kind of get stretched out, and it's really just our way of saying it's going to get sheared apart. So that should happen. Well, of course, we'll watch it closely. But that's why we're not making that part of the 7-day outlook. Although I do have to say, Ross, as a person who enjoys the most into the ocean, it might send a bit of a swell toward our beaches, maybe.
Yeah, that's some good news for you.
Yeah, so
if we get some warmer weather out there along the beach for you.
Well, whether or not it's going to get warmer, the swell will come, so I'll feel obligated for you to do the research.
Okay.
But I agree. It's going to be invigorating out there. We just got, did we get a weather question from Andy?
He was wondering if this was going to impact his trip to Fort Clinch in a couple of weekends. But Andy, I think you'll be okay. I know you go up there just about every other day.
Maybe a little bit of beach erosion if he's going to go to the beaches there near Fort Clinch.
Yeah.
So is Andy going to do some primitive camping, do you think?
I don't know. Glamping, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, see, it's because he's got a golden retriever named Walter. We're going to add Walter into the conversation now. And he is a little bit of a prima donna.
Walter is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's got to have a whole setup.
So really the main glamping is for Walter. Otherwise,
yeah.
Andy,
he would just
be out there under the stars.
Yeah, just sleeping in a hammock all night.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, so folks, here is we're gonna bring it all home for you. So there's that big, massive precipitation on the East Coast that is heading away. Over the southeast, things are nice and quiet for spring breakers, although maybe you'd like it a little warmer. At least this means the next couple of days, we're just going to have a lot of sunshine. But here's going to be the big weather question. So this next front, it's if it wasn't for the last storm, we would be saying this is a pretty strong storm system. It's just not quite as strong as the last one. It's also not going to be able to, it doesn't look like, tap as much moisture. And so our big question for Thursday and is going to be not whether or not we're going to have damaging storms, but whether or not we're going to have showers. Right, Ross?
Yeah. And we kind of talked a little bit about, this past weekend, we had a large swath of moisture at the surface. We spoke about it earlier. I think there's going to be a very narrow line of some higher dew points and moisture. So until Thursday arrives, gradual warm up, pretty nice weather. Then here comes Thursday. Spring blows in. We'll watch for some scattered showers. Again, a narrow line, but not expecting really any thunderstorms or severe weather here, Tim.
Yeah, so I think the main debate we're having is, will it hit 40% of us? Will it hit 60% of us? It should come at us from the west. And here's the guaranteed part. It is the vernal equinox. Spring will have sprung.
Yes.
Right?
And then a chilly end of the week, back down into the mid-60s.
Not feeling so much like spring.
Yeah, for the spring breakers out there on the beach, it is going to be cold.
And we'll wrap it up with you. So if your main concern is rain, I think we'll wrap it up with there on the 7th day. So maybe a few showers on Thursday. Monday might be a little more widespread. We're keeping that at 40% just because that's farther out on the horizon. Ross, thanks for joining. Thank you for letting me drive today. I think Ross does a much better job, folks. So probably tomorrow Ross will be back behind the wheel. So thank you, Ross. Thank you, Andy. And again, happy St. Paddy's Day.